and get started. All right, so good evening. I am so happy that you are here to join me to just talk about designing asynchronous courses from an adjunct instructor perspective. So to give you a little bit of background, I am Nicole Zumpano. I am the Director of Distance Learning at Triton, and I'm also an adjunct instructor. I teach currently for Dominican, which is down the street from Triton, and also for Michigan State University. Dominican, I've been at for 13 years now, and Michigan State, I've been at for 8 years. I also, for a number of years, probably about 12 years, adjunct for National Louis as well. So in all of these programs, I am teaching courses that are centered around technology in education. All of them are in graduate schools of education. So these are graduate level classes. All of them are online completely. And the examples that I'm going to show you today, the vast majority of them come from my work at Dominican, just because right now I'm currently in the middle of a semester over there. I do have some of my examples from Michigan State to share with you as well. One thing to keep in mind is at Dominican, I have pretty much complete control over what my course design looks like, as long as I am following the course map set forth by the university. Michigan State is definitely different. They have their own extremely well-developed online courses, and the instructors are more facilitators, and we put in some of our own personal touches as we go through. So a little bit of background there. So I'm going to look at 4 different sections tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about workflow because, as I just mentioned, I have a full-time job on top of my adjuncting. So I'll give you some of my tips and tricks and things that I think I do to keep all the balls in the air nice and neat. I'll also show you some screenshots and talk a little bit about my course design because, again, I'm a huge advocate of online courses, and I think asynchronous courses can be just as good, if not better, than, believe it or not, some in-person. I'm also going to share some of the student support materials that I've created for my graduate students. And then just for kicks and for fun, give you some examples of some student engagement things that I do in an asynchronous course. So if you don't teach in that format yet, you can get an idea of what's available and what you can do. So things that I believe in, and I just feel it's really important to make sure that I convey this. And you need to find what works for you, but everything you're going to see tonight comes from this background. I absolutely love teaching online asynchronous courses. I do have a full-time job already. I don't need to teach online, but I absolutely love it. And so I make a choice to do that. Let's see. Tony, I'm going to see if I can, yep, I'm going to go ahead and mute you just so that we don't have any background. If you have any questions, you can definitely unmute or just shoot me a message in the chat or in the chat. So love what I do. That's why I do it. I can quit at any time. So I don't know. That's just important to me to let you know. I also am a firm believer and a huge advocate for designing multimodal courses, meaning many different modalities. Sometimes I am using videos, sometimes I'm using polls, you know, all different sorts of things at the same time. So I'm a huge believer in that. And then also, I'm also a big believer in incorporating communities of practice. So I'm very cognizant of student to student interactions, student to teacher interactions, and also student to content interactions. So social presence, instructor presence, and cognitive presence. Let's see. For you, my hope for you is that I really do truly hope you love the courses that you're teaching. If not, hopefully I can help you, give you some ideas for that. I hope you also design for multimodality in mind, because today's students, whether they are in-person students or they are online, they expect multimodal content that's just this generation in general that we service at Triton. I also hope that you do give some thought and incorporate some communities of practice. And obviously, I hope that I give you at least one new idea that you can walk away with and implement tonight. Okay, so let's get right into it and get started. Let's talk about workflow. So with every course that I teach, I have to sit down and write it all out. I type it up and I say, okay, when am I going to open each module? All of my online courses open on Monday, but I like to open them 2 days early so that students, because again, remember, my students are graduate students, they often have other responsibilities. I want to give them 2 weekends to work. So if a module opens on a Monday, I'm opening that content 2 days before on a Saturday. But again, I got to remember that stuff. So I write it all down. And then I write down what days their assignments are due and so on. And then it actually dawned on me one day when I was writing this all out. I thought, why am I not sharing this with students? So this becomes a student support doc as well. I take my calendar and I upload it for them on this one sheet of paper that they can print out. And again, it's a way of me helping to reduce a little bit of cognitive load for them because most of them are taking more than one class. And I tell them, hey, print this and just keep it handy so you know exactly when content is available, what's coming up. You can plan ahead, schedule your week on days that you can work and so on. And this also works as a reinforcement when I do have students post work late. I can go right into, their grade and say, hey, you have access to this calendar, so please make sure you're printing it and, following it as you can. My assignment tracker, I'll show you what this looks like. This is probably my biggest saving grace for workflow. Well, one of two. I'll show you the other one too. My students love this. Little bit of background on this. I require my students to blog. We do all of our coursework publicly by blogging. And as you can see, this is just a snapshot. Often my courses have anywhere from, I'd say, 18 to 25 students in them. That's a lot of students to have to go and check individual blogs and find them all the time. So what I do is I have a gigantic spreadsheet, and I've gone ahead and removed all of my student last names on this example, so there's no violation here. And basically, you can see along the bottom, for each week of the course, it has a different tab. And for each week of this, I have what's due, what day it's due, when I've graded it, and so on. So when I ask them to create a blog, then they have to come onto the assignment tracker. They have to click or write the word done, and then they have to link their blog. That signals to me that their work is ready for me to grade, because fortunately, luckily, I do have a lot of students that like to turn work in early. They don't wait until the day of. Some do, but a lot of them turn it in early. So that gives me a head start on getting feedback back to them as well. So when I see the word done is linked, I can go click on it. I can read their work, and then I can grade it. And I should say, with my public blogs, I do comment on every single student's blog. Excuse me. But my comments, and I make this very clear in my syllabus, my comments are as a colleague and are asking questions to push their thinking. It has absolutely nothing to do with grades. If I have any problems whatsoever with the quality of their work, I then go into, and in this case, I use this at Dominican, and we also use it at Michigan State too. We use Canvas at Dominican and D2L at Michigan State. But I can go into that system then and send a note to the student and say, hey, listen, Mackenzie, this was not your best work. I need you to go back and do A, B, and C, and so on. So this is an amazing document that I absolutely love. And what's very interesting, I survey my students. I get so much feedback coming back that my students end up loving the assignment tracker because it helps them stay just as organized as well. So it turns out to be a fan favorite. Um, I have gone so far at both universities and received feedback from the registrar's office and the gosh, I forget their exact title. But basically, I've checked in. This is not a FERPA violation because I am not releasing any grade information, and this is an internal document that is not shared publicly. It's within our class structure only. And again, as a reminder, if you joined us, if you have any questions, you can pop them in the chat or you can unmute and we can go from there. I'll keep going. Another thing I do is for my work, I keep course folders. I love Google Drive. I'm not a huge fan of Outlook, but all of my work, my personal work is done in my Google Drive, and I keep folders for each class. And then this makes it very easy for me to find. In my drive, I only color code courses that I'm currently teaching so that my eye goes right to them when I get into my drive and I need to organize things. And then basically, so for example, you see I've got an orange folder, EDU 776 Fall 2025. When this semester is over, I'll create a folder for the next instance of the class, which in this case will be Spring 2. And I'll take this folder and put it inside Spring 2. So as I start to update my materials, everything is one easy place to get to. I also have a workflow checklist. Now, I'll show this to you. I've since abandoned this, and I'll show you what I use now. But you can see for many of the classes and the courses that I've taught, I have this laundry list of things that I need to do to set up my course for the next instance. So again, I abandoned this just because I actually changed the location of where I do this. But if you're somebody that, teaches the same course and there are things specifically that need to be updated, this is an option just to open up a spreadsheet and create a checklist and do it that way. Now what I do, I'm going to take you inside and show you another document. Is these things that are here on this checklist, I just transferred them over, into this document. And I had mentioned earlier how the assignment tracker was like my go-to saving grace. The second one is this notes for next time. And this is just a crazy large document where as I am teaching a course, I'm also taking notes about what I want to change for next time. You can see some of the accessibility things that I'm doing. I've got my hex codes and things in there like that. And then I also, you can see this is where I transferred that checklist. I also have every single module that I teach. I've got the name of the module, and then I just have a blank notes page because in between me teaching the classes that I teach, I'm finding resources all the time that I might want to include. So this just helps me stay organized. I put in all my notes here. I give myself ideas of things that I want to implement. Do I always get to them? No, but I've got them here as a reminder. I pull out some student quotes from surveys that I give and course evaluations, and I pull these out in the event that I think my upcoming students can use them. And you can see again, here's my to-dos, and then I also have ideas for future iteration as well. So I just continue to iterate, and that's one of the ways that I really stay on top of, what I want to add to my course the next time I teach it. Email templates. So again, I have the luxury of teaching the same set of courses. So what I've gotten to the point of doing now is every email that I send, and I send out a weekly overview recap every Sunday. I keep those all in one gigantic document. So the next time I go to teach the course, I'm changing some details, but I'm not starting from scratch. So I can go grab the body of this and then tweak it each semester the way I need to. And it saves me so much time because again, the most of my courses aren't changing, or not courses. Most of my modules, my assignments, my objectives, they're not changing. So, it's just individualizing it. This saves me a ton of time. FERPA form, as I mentioned before, I have my students blog publicly. I do not legally need to give them a FERPA consent form. I do it as a courtesy to them. And quite honestly, I don't even really go back and check it too often. But basically, I give them the option to blog publicly under their regular name. Like, I'm Nicole Zumpano, I would blog under Nicole Zumpano. I give them the option to blog publicly under a pseudonym. And for a pseudonym, I could be known as, Tech Teacher 101. So they have the option to do that. And then further, I give them the option to blog privately within the LMS discussion forum. I can tell you quite honestly, I've done this probably for about 12 years. And in those 12 years, I want to say less than 5 students have ever blogged internally inside the LMS. And in at least 3 of those cases, those were due to privacy, domestic situations where, they didn't want someone intentionally that they knew to find them online for safety reasons, so they blogged privately. And then the other one was a student that was actually changing careers, and she didn't want there to be any sort of trace of anything of her online, because she didn't want her employer to know that she was seeking a new career. So the vast majority of them, again, blog publicly. And again, as a reminder, my courses are technology in education, and part of blogging publicly is using technology for positive purposes. So there's that. And then this is another one that I do that saves me a lot of time, is I have a consent to share work. At the end of the course, I tell the students, some of them produce amazing work, and I would love to share those in future classes. And so I ask their permission. This is an optional form. They don't have to fill it out. Most of them do. If they don't fill it out, I assume I do not have permission to share their content. But again, I want to say, if I had to put a percentage on it, I would say probably like 93 to 95% of, people say, yeah, go ahead and share my work. Some want, well, they all get credit. I should say that right off the bat. They all get credit. Some want me just to send them an email and say, hey, FYI, I used your blog on digital tattoos to share with the class. And they're like, oh, that's cool. Others, they make it really easy for me. They're like, yeah, if you want to share it, go ahead and share it. Just give me credit, but you don't have to notify me. So that is something else that saves me a lot of time. Okay, I'm going to move into course design. So with my asynchronous courses, something to keep in mind, as I mentioned, I use Canvas at Dominican and D2L at Michigan State. Both of those LMSs give us the ability to have a homepage. Blackboard doesn't really do that, which is hugely disappointing, but it's the LMS that we use, so we're kind of stuck with it. However, that doesn't mean that you can't have a page within Blackboard that you name homepage. And on your homepage, you want to keep it super, super simple. You do not want to junk it up. So this is the top half of my homepage. You can see it has the course name, my name, course dates, my contact info, and then a clear, easy path to get to the content. And I tell them, the course is set up in weekly modules. You can either click on the word module within Canvas, or you can click on each of these weeks by themselves. And then you'll notice on this page, I have access to the assignment tracker and rubrics as well. This is the bottom of the page. So that's it. So it's this top right here and this picture connected underneath it. That's my entire page. And I do explain to them in a video that this picture that I have here, this is a word cloud that is generated from former students describing the course. So I give surveys. I'll show you an example of my survey, my end of the course survey. I asked them to describe the course in 3 words. And with a word cloud, the words that appear larger are words that more students have used. So I'm hoping every time they log in, they're seeing some of these words and they're excited or inspired to get going on their coursework. Okay, what else do I have in my course modules? So I've got course information modules. You can see this very first one is general course resources, and I have 3 documents in it. That's literally it. I have my organization and my image credits. I have a page about me if they want to learn more about me. And then I have a link to my expectations and rubrics. I use a lot of single point rubrics and I love them. A single point rubric is basically you've got this criteria in your work, you don't. There's no halfway. You either get full credit for it or you get no credit for it. On the final projects, I do a traditional rubric, but for the most part, everything else is a single point rubric. Then I have a second module, and this module is ongoing information. So this is stuff that they would come back to maybe even every week. You can see that calendar that I started with. I've got that. I have norms for communication. I'll show you what that looks like. There's my FERPA form, my consent form, the assignment tracker, and the rubrics. So again, you're also hopefully catching on. I'm posting things more than one place. The rubrics were available on the homepage. They're also available in this module, and I'm going to show you an example of what they look like. I include my rubrics in every single module. So my students have zero excuse to not understand how they're going to be assessed. I also have a module called Start Here, and the main purpose is simply to set the stage for my students. I give them a course overview, and in the course overview, I include a couple things. I basically tell them, this is what we're going to do in this course. This is a high-level overview. This is how the structure is. And then I include a course overview video that I record. It's the longest video I record. It is about 15 minutes. And I'll explain that a little bit more when I get to that section. And then I just have a get started page. So that page literally says, number 1, read the syllabus. Number 2, fill out this FERPA form. Number 3, go to module 1 and start. It's giving them a clear path to get started. In terms of orientation modules can be pretty much anything you want them to help remove the cognitive overload for your students and to get them in the right frame of mind to be successful right off the bat in your courses. I went ahead a while back and I designed a document, and again, you'll have a link to this document. I can also drop it in the chat for you now. But basically, these are just different things that you can do to orient your students to an online course. And these are optional ideas. You don't have to do all of them. You could just choose one. I'm going to copy this and pop it in the chat real quick. Give me 1 second. Thank you, Tony, for your comment. Okay, so let me come back out of here. So you can check that out if you're interested in that. Okay, my layout is extremely consistent. So in my module organization, every single module, I don't want to say every page, but every single main page, and I'll explain what that means, but every single main page of my course module has this exact structure in this exact order. I start every module telling students why it's important. And when I say why it's important, I don't I don't list the course objectives, because if we're being honest between friends, most students aren't going to read those. So what I do is I put in plain English why the topic that we're working on for that particular week is important for them and important for, in many cases, their students or anyone that they're servicing. Then I have listen. Listen is where I put a very short, less than 5 minute weekly overview video so they can see my face, even though, this is an asynchronous course. And I basically do a screen share, a screencast recording of the module that we're working on. And I say, hey, this week, this is what we're going to be working on. I want you to pay attention to this. This is my expectation for the week. I think it's going to take this amount of time, and so on. And I encourage the students, when they can, as early as they can, even on Saturday morning, when things are available right away, I tell them just go in and watch the 5-minute video. It'll help orient them to how much time they need to spend focusing on the coursework for the week. Then I've got the learn page, or the learn portion. The learn portion is everything they need to learn. I give them resources that they need to master our topic. The do is obviously what they need to do. And then in this particular course, I have a decide feature, because this course that I'm teaching right now, this EDU 776, is a course about integrating instructional technology into programming, instruction, and services. There's a ton of amazing ed tech tools out there that can help other teachers teach. So I choose one that is unrelated to coursework, and I just put it in this decide option, and it's simply an optional resource for them to check out. And then I have a separate page, which is all additional resources. I go back and forth with whether I'm going to keep that page current or not. I don't know. I'm still working through that in my own brain. But basically, my students come in and they know my format is listen, learn, do, decide. And they're going to see that same consistency in every single module. At Michigan State, we do something similar. However, Michigan State uses explore, create, and share. So every single module is set up with, this is what you're going to explore this week. This is what you're going to create. This is how we want you to share it. So this is what my module pages look like. So week number 2 in the course that I'm currently teaching, we looked at professional web presences. So they're basically making digital portfolios and frameworks for evaluating technology. My very first page is course and module learning objectives. So I do have those objectives listed on their own separate page. Then the second page is the main content. That second page, whoops, let me go back. Right here is the one where they're going to see why this is important, listen, learn, do, decide. The additional resources, that gets their own page. In every single module, I pull out the rubrics that have to do with those particular assignments for this week. So again, remember, they can get to my rubrics from the homepage, from a document within my ongoing resource module, and also in every single module itself. So this is like my learn, or my listen, where I record a weekly overview. Like I said, 5-minute, in this case, this was week number 1. So it was our very first week of coursework. So I knew it was going to be a little bit longer, but basically, it's just me going in, telling them what it is that they're going to work on for the week. My rubrics, I just took a little image here so you can see this is what my rubric page would look like. So again, they know exactly how they're going to be assessed. And here's my rubric docs as well. So I've used a gigantic Google Doc. I have the rubrics and the due dates for every single assignment listed in this doc as well. So some students, they might want to just print this out and have it available, and I make it available to them. I'll go ahead and show you real quick just what it looks like. There's their blog post, their responses, some of the projects that they have here. In some instances, I have additional resources that they can check out, and so on. Okay, surveys. So this is one thing that I've started doing this semester. I've started to give a mid-course survey just to do a check-in, find out how students are feeling about the course, how they're feeling about the content, how they're feeling about my instruction, how they're feeling about the course design and layout, and then just basically about the feedback I'm giving them. I also ask them how they're feeling about their effort overall, so they can, be a little honest with themselves, how they're feeling about understanding the course material, and then basically anything else they think I should know. You'll see here, it's optional. They do not need to put their name at all. The vast majority of them did not put their name. I think this time I had 4 students that put their name, which turned out to be really helpful because one of them under course design said that the module was a little bit, how did she say it? She said it was difficult for her to get used to in the beginning. And I was like, well, I want to know about that feedback, so I can fix it. So I was able to, because that student left their name, reach out and say, hey, what did you mean? And they were able to clarify for me. I don't do anything else with the, mid-course survey data. It's just another checkpoint for me to check in and see if there's anything that I might need to be concerned about that they might not have told me. My end of course survey. This is a big one. So again, I've mentioned before how just I love teaching these courses, and these surveys, you'll see are so detailed. I ask them all sorts of things. I always tell them, please start by filling out the official school form. But let's be honest here, those class evaluation forms, most students don't give detailed feedback on. So especially because these courses are asynchronous, I want to make sure that I am hearing what my students need and what they have to say. So here, right here, this in 3 words or less, please describe the course. That's what I use that word cloud for. And Tony, I would totally encourage you to do that. If at any point you want a copy of mine, if you've got a Google account, you can email me and I can, send you a copy of it, or I can just send you the questions if you're interested. I also, and I'll just run through this quickly, I asked them, did they watch the course overview video that I sent them? And one thing I'm hoping you're going to pick up on, every time I give them a multiple choice question, I do require it, but after every multiple choice question, I give them all an optional, is there anything else you want to tell me about that? And some students, they're fantastic. They will give me amazing data on, all of this, which is great. And I love that. So what are your thoughts about the assignment tracker? I asked them point blank. And again, it's so interesting, by and large, the vast majority of them absolutely love it. And some of them say they're going to incorporate it. I do always get 1 or 2 that say, I don't know why we couldn't have just done everything in the LMS. Because that's what they're used to. And, there's nothing wrong with that. So I basically use this one also because it is a good reminder for me that this works. And if I ever reach a point where the vast majority of them say, I don't like it, stop using it, I'll stop using it. I asked them the weekly recap emails. Were they helpful? Did they watch the weekly overview videos? What were their thoughts about our deadlines? What were their thoughts about the optional tools that I have? What else? I asked them if they use that FYI additional resource page. I'm really hoping eventually, someday they'll just tell me no, so I could just take them down because they're a lot to maintain. But if the students want them, I'll keep them up. I ask them if they read the syllabus, and I am going to explain this because I've got a lot of options here. I asked them, again, just all sorts of things about, just the design. Did they like having the modules open earlier? What else? Rubrics. Did they think my rubrics were easy to understand? Were they hard? So on. Did they think that I was responsive to them? And then basically I take all the topics that we talked about and I ask them just to tell me, did you learn anything new? Or did you not learn anything, about this topic? Did you want to keep talking about this topic? Is this topic like completely irrelevant and we shouldn't talk about it at all, or there wasn't enough? And again, that gives me a quick overview of, is the content I'm teaching still content that they find relevant? What else? My projects. I do not require any Zoom meetings. Um, we have that option at both Michigan State and Dominican. We do not have that option at Triton unless it's an asynchronous course. Um, but again, the vast majority of them, they don't mind that there's no Zoom classes. Some of them say, if there were some optional ones, we'd attend. So we'll go from there. So basically, you get the gist. I give an incredibly long survey, and though its survey is probably one of my absolute favorite things, related to the course, just because, again, um, most students are filling them out, not all of them, and I just get such rich, rich data and ideas. Okay, let's see, that was it. Let's move into support docs. We are in section 3 of 4, so we'll get through these. So these are documents that I create to help my students. I always start with a pre-course communication. So a week before the course begins, I am sending this big, massive email. I'm telling them who I am. I'm telling them the course is online, it's asynchronous, and this is how you're going to get to it. I record, as I mentioned, the entire course overview. And basically my course overview video just walks them through the course, shows them, here's the homepage, here's how you get to the assignments. And I just walk them through and I explain some of the structure of my course. I tell them the modules are going to be open every Saturday. We're going to blog, so I need you to fill out this FERPA form. In none of my courses at Dominican, I don't require any books at all. Michigan State, they do require some books, but this is my Dominican course here. I tell them we're not going to have any Zoom meetings, and so on. And the reason I do this all a week before is, again, I want to remove the cognitive overload and some of the anxiety that comes with a new instructor and a new course. And I want to also at the same time avoid getting 40 emails from 20 students, even 2 emails each. What do I do? Are there any books? Where do I log in? How do I get started? So by me, again, remember what I do. I copy this, and next semester, all I need to do is swap out a couple dates, swap out my new video, and I'm good to go. So once I get this in place, it becomes really, really easy. I also create a visual syllabus, and by a visual syllabus, I mean a pretty much one-page web page online that tells them what I think they're going to want to know. Students are going to want to know what your late policy is, how they're going to be graded. They want to know what the schedule is. They want to know how to get in touch with you. So I start by sending this visual syllabus in that pre-course communication. So if they don't want to read the full 15-page official syllabus, they don't have to. Obviously, I always make that available. We all have to. I do too. But I do this visual syllabus as well. I also, and this is super fun, if you are unfamiliar with Notebook LM, at some point let me know or reach out, and I'd love to just do a short CTE session, even like a half an hour on Notebook LM, because it is super cool. Basically, it's an AI program that is owned by Google. And what you do is you upload your own documents to it, and then you can engage with those documents in different ways. So one of the things that you can do, and this is insane, you can actually create a podcast about any document that you upload. So what I do for my students is I upload my syllabus and my rubrics, and that's it. And then I have it generate a podcast. I don't know if this sound is going to come through. I'll click this for a second and we'll see if the sound comes through, just for like 20 seconds, just so you can hear this is what the artificial intelligence podcast sounds like. All right, I'm hoping you guys were able to hear some of that. But honestly, creating that took me literally less than 5 minutes. I uploaded 2 course documents and I hit create this audio file, and it did all the work and created it for me. So what do I do with this? I send this in that pre-course communication along with the link to the regular syllabus and also the visual syllabus. This gives my students 3 different modalities in which they can learn about what the course is going to be about. Instead of me just saying it's in the syllabus and linking it, in my course, I'm front loading, trying to get them excited, trying to remove some of the cognitive overload as well. Okay, I had mentioned earlier my communication document, communication norms. I have this document again in one of my ongoing modules, ongoing resource modules, and you see there's only 4 questions in there. How will I get class information? When and where will content be posted? How, when, and where will I get feedback on work? How can I reach you if I have questions? And that's it. And I just have this posted so students are aware of how I am going to communicate with them. We spend so much time telling the students, you better do this, and this is what I expect of you. And we very often don't tell them what they can expect from us in return. So I like this because I like to show, listen, I'm not just asking you to communicate with me. I'm telling you, I'm going to communicate with you as well. As I mentioned earlier, the emails and announcements, I send them usually every Sunday as a recap. This one in particular is a midweek check-in where I'm giving them just some heads up on things that I'm seeing, things that I like. If I have students that are doing amazing work, I will point them out and give them a shout out and with their name. And then what I end up doing is I have my own document, which is basically a class list. And I keep track of what week I shouted somebody out because I don't want it to ever get to a point where I'm shouting the same person out, 8 weeks out of an 8-week course and then shouting out somebody ever. I don't shout out everybody because not everybody produces quality work. And that's just, realistic. But I do really try and get to as many people as I can with that as well. I consider that a support document. In my emails as well, I post them 2 different ways. I send them an actual email of the recap, and I also list it as an announcement. So if they are in the LMS, they have the option to read it as an announcement. If they want to read it in their school email, they can do that as well. And some people say, oh, well, I'm getting multiple announcements from all my instructors, all week long. I try, other than week number 1, which is the first week, it's understandable. Beyond that, I only email them once a week in terms of, announcements. So I'm hoping that I'm not adding to that overload. Weekly to-dos. This is an older one. I used to do this where I would make 1 page, which was a weekly to-do. I stopped doing it. And in part of the reason I did this is I know that some students would just come here and follow this in order and not engage with any course materials. So in my own courses at Dominican, I've kind of taken this out because again, this, to do, this is broken down between the learn and the do sections of my work. At Michigan State, we do in our modules have a roadmap. It's the very first page of each module, and you can see in this as well, explore, create, and share. We follow that same theme throughout. And in this case, they put the module learning objectives here as well. So, some options, things you can do. I also provide book notes for my students. As I mentioned earlier, I do not require them to purchase any books, in part because I'm dealing with educational technology. And by the time a book comes out, about educational technology, often it's, already out of date or quickly getting out of date. And if the students aren't going to be able to use it after my course, I really don't want to make them purchase it. So oftentimes what I'll do is, if there are texts with content that I want them to know about because I think it was really powerful and important, I'll create a PowerPoint with my book notes, things that stood out to me as I read it. Some students may then decide to go and purchase this book on their own, and some may not at all, and that's perfectly fine. I'm, giving them access to the content that I want them to know. At Michigan State, we are fantastic about doing it. I love this as well. The designers of these courses are amazing human beings. In this particular case, in this example, the students were reading the book How People Learn, which is an incredibly large text to read. And it's very easy to just say, hey, read chapters 1 through 3, and that's it. And some students will do it religiously, some will not do it at all. What we do at Michigan State is we help support them, and we basically say, listen, in chapter 1, these are the 2 main themes that we saw, and these are the things that we want you to remember. And these are the things we want you to look for. Now, will some students not read the text at all because we kind of gave them a cheat sheet? Absolutely. But other students appreciate having almost a guide tell them what they should be looking for and focus on when they are reading. And that's just, a design choice that we make. I also, for Michigan State, they are very big on APA formatting. So I made a cheat sheet for my students. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't use APA anywhere else except if I'm writing a professional, journal article. Beyond that, I only use it at Michigan State. So this cheat sheet, guess what? It was more for me to remember. And then I share it with the students because it's something that's going to help them as well. I also create a cheat sheet for my Dominican courses. And again, the cheat sheet, again, super simple information, my contact information, our course dates, when assignments are due, what I require for their blogs, and then I give them some additional blogging tips. Guided notes. I taught a course for National Louis, I want to say it was 2 years ago, on distance learning. And the students were expected to read the distance learning playbook. And again, I didn't want to just say, go read chapter 1. So what I did is I created a guided notes companion document, and I pulled out content that I wanted them to focus on. I created places where they could take their own notes, things that they can reflect on. It was nothing that I required for an assignment. It's nothing that I asked them to turn into me. It was simply to help them with metacognition. Okay, last area, and then we'll get you out of here for your evening. So engagement ideas. This isn't necessarily, well, I guess this does go a little bit to design, but it also goes back to my tenet of multimodality. And again, remember, I teach asynchronous courses, so it's incredibly important for me for students to feel connected to each other as well. Remember those communities of inquiry. One of the things I do, and I did this particular challenge in this book, this distance learning course. And basically, we had a class spirit challenge where every week I had a different, just random discussion posts that they were not obligated to answer, but they could engage with if they wanted to. It had absolutely nothing to do with their grade. It just was a way for them to connect with each other. And not everybody engaged with it. Some people engaged sometimes, some not at all. But I'll tell you, anytime I do this, asking them to give you pictures of their pets or tell you what their favorite music is will just be incredibly popular. Those are 2 things that I found my students absolutely wanted to talk about all the time. Okay, side chats as well. Side chats, in a nutshell, are side conversations around a theme or a topic we're working on. So I've done these a few different ways. When I used to have smaller courses, I would use a Google Doc. And basically, what I would do is I would ask a question about the topic we were exploring. And it would just be, kind of an open-ended topic or question that I'd ask them. And then they would be able to go into the Google Doc and share their answer and then comment on each other's answers. You can see the down here, this is, the list where they signed up. So I knew who to give credit to, for their name and their font. And then up here, some of you might remember Flipgrid. It's since not free or easy to access anymore. So I don't use it anymore. But with Flipgrid, they could go in and record a short video just talking about one of these side chat questions. So since Flipgrid went away about a year and a half ago, I've kind of tabled this. I'm still thinking through how I want to weave it back in. And I'm trying to balance in my own brain, is this busy work? Is it worth incorporating back in? One thing I'm thinking of doing in both this class and also I teach a social media class is having them communicate with each other through Slack. So that's something I might think about. Even my graduate students, many of them are young. They also, almost all of them are on Discord. So I've thought about setting up a Discord channel as well. So I'm still kicking that around. Polls. I've created super short polls that I create with Canva, and I just embed these one poll into each module. I don't grade them. They're just another way for students to interact and feel part of a community with each other. I give lots of choice. I'm a big believer in choice for assignments. This was a leadership course that I taught for Dominican a few years back. And throughout the entire course, they had to complete 3 of these activities. They could do any of the 3 in any order. In some instances, they could watch a TED Talk, they could listen to a podcast, they could subscribe to a newsletter and talk about what they found. They could create a content curated list of resources. They can interview a leader. There were so many different options that they could choose from. And I didn't care what 3 that they did, just that they were engaging with the materials. This is one that I give in my course. This is my social media course. My students do a unit on digital tattoos, which is kind of like your digital persona, your digital footprint. I give them the choice and how they want to demonstrate their learning. This is one that, again, same thing, choice. This one particular is on professional learning networks. So again, they had to pick one, and that's what they did for this project. Social deconstruction. This one is super fun. In my social media course, basically what we did is we took a terms of service agreement and students deconstructed it together. And by deconstructing it, basically they went in, they highlighted sections that made them wonder something they agreed with, something they thought was fantastic, and so on. And then they were able to comment on each other's work. Okay, so I just whipped through that as good as I could, as fast as I could. You've got 5 quick minutes left. I appreciate you being here. We're trying something new by offering some night virtual sessions for the CTE. As you've noticed, I'm an adjunct instructor, and I advocate for adjuncts, and many adjuncts cannot get to our in-person course offerings in the CTE because they're, either teaching or they're teaching somewhere else, or they've got another full-time job and they adjunct on the side. So I'm hoping you found this a good use of an hour of your time in the evening. And I'm hoping we can also get you a digital evaluation. I am going to pop this link in the chat for you. And basically what this is this is a link to all of the ideas that I presented. not the slideshow presentation. And I did not include the slideshow presentation simply for the fact that um, I've got a lot of, I don't know if you want to call it proprietary, content in there. Some, student stuff. So I'd prefer not to share the actual slide deck. Hopefully you'll extend me some grace for that. But basically everything that I presented to you, I went ahead and I put it here in this document. I also just added my email. Tony, I see your email in there. I will make a note to myself to send you an email tomorrow with the mid-survey questions, just so you have them. And yeah, with that, we've got 3 minutes. Does anyone have any questions for me? And if not, you're more than free to just go ahead and say goodnight and disconnect. I think I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. All right. Well, with that, I will say,
Can I say something?
Yes, you can.
Oh, thank
Absolutely.
you. This is what I want to say. I have been an adjunct for 20 plus years.
Okay.
I love what I do, and I could tell you love what you do. And in the 20 years that I've been an adjunct, I have a full-time job too, but this is my part-time job.
Right.
I can tell you, as a requirement, at least in the state of Illinois, we're required to have like 12 professional development hours every year. So
Yeah.
I'm just trying to say I've been through many professional development hours in the 20 plus years I've taught. This was actually one of the very, very best professional development sessions I have ever attended. A lot of
Oh,
information, no, really, a lot of very good information that I could take with me, that I could share with my other teacher friends. And I just really appreciate all of the work you did. This was really one of the very best presentations.
oh, I appreciate the kind words. Yeah, it's hard to be an adjunct sometimes. But again, when you love what you do, you do it.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
agree with Tony. I agree with Tony. And, I was going to ask you, of course, it's hard to just transform your course,
Yes.
into something. So what would you say would be the most, or where would you start if, or if you were us?
That
What would you
that's a
do that's most effective?
That's a great question. I guess it depends, Frank, what your goal is. If your goal is to make your own life easier, start with your workflow. Start with setting things up to make things just easier for yourself. Whether it's that email, putting them, saving those emails or organizing. If you are looking to, um, gosh, it's hard to say, without seeing your courses. If you're looking to shore up your design, start by maybe even having conversations with your students. Put out a survey, about very specific questions like mine. You saw
Mm-hmm.
how detailed mine is. I want to know what's working and what's not working. Um, but it's just difficult for me to answer that question off the bat. But I'm happy to talk anytime you guys want to talk. I'm even happy if at some point, and Frank, this could be something you and I talk about, maybe what we need to do is we need to set up um, even like an adjunct professional learning network, where we connect, whether it's once a month or every other month, kind of like this, but, not even necessarily we could do presentations, or we could say tonight we're going to focus on course design, and we all just
Right.
share,
Mm-hmm.
something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible. You listen, you can't do everything in one day. I think
No,
for me at least, I just try to strive to be better than before. And I
yeah,
think the one takeaway I have is I think the first place I will start, and I'm embarrassed to say this because teaching so long, I should have done this, but I used to do surveys, but I would always do my surveys after the semester. And
Yeah.
maybe, and that's great, but you know what? There's something to be said for a mid-course survey. And
Yes.
because then you have that opportunity to address issues you may not have been aware of otherwise. So I think
Right.
that is a place I would definitely start at. And then maybe from there, then go on to something else. But I do exactly what you do. I have folders. So each
Mhm.
class has a folder. I have folders, subfolders, and it's
Yeah.
kind of all there, and it's just kind of keeping it all on track. So I was right with you when the color coding was kind of nice. I like that. I didn't think about that. But
Yeah.
that was I was impressed by that. So I think that's where I'll start is with and you know what? We're in almost in the middle of the semester. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a nice time to maybe put something like that together.
And I would say, and you'll see it when I send it, again, make short, super easy multiple choice questions.
Hmm.
And then, you can make those required and then open ended after. Because again, you don't want a survey that's 20 open ended questions because students are not going to answer it. But if you ask them a super specific question like, do you like the color that I'm choosing for my background? Or do you like the
Hmm.
categories that I'm including? And you give them a yes or no, but then you give them something to like room to tell you more if they want to, that that you're going to get information from that. It's kind of like when anyone says to you, any questions. If you don't know what you don't know, but if I say to you, hey, do you have any questions about the support documents I showed you? I'm just focusing, on telling you what I want to get out of you. So be incredibly specific. And again, they're not all going to take it, but that's okay. But let me tell you something. It is incredibly powerful for a student, especially community college students, because they're learning how to be college students.
Hmm.
Giving them a survey and saying, I want you to help me get better, giving them that agency is powerful. And they will respect you for giving them that voice to be able to tell you, especially anonymously. I would also tell you, make sure when you do give a survey, make sure you go back and address it, Tony. So like with me,
Yeah.
because my course is asynchronous, in on my next recap, I was able to say, most of you, or the vast majority of you, like your content, you're feeling good about this, you're feeling, I said there were a couple of you that said, I don't even remember because I mean, again, they weren't bad. The
Yeah.
one was on design, and I was able to say, you know, I was able to justify or explain,
Right.
and our students, they're just not always used to people giving them that voice.
Well,
Um,
what's nice about doing that is if you do it midterm, they'll 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 hopefully understand that you're listening to what they're saying. So if you do give an end of the semester survey, they'll
right,
actually think that, hey, if I complete this, this is going to help make the class better for other students. So I
right.
think I really like the thought of you should submit this as a proposal for a conference somewhere if you haven't already. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, I do present a lot at conferences, and thank you for that feedback. I don't know if I put this one in. I present a lot at ISTE. I don't know if you're familiar with ISTE, the International Society for Technology and Education. They're in international, but they always are in the U.S. But your thought just made me think. Something else I do, and I don't know if I've got it real quick, but I can pull up to show you guys. I started implementing something with my students called a wisdom wall, and basically
Mm.
a Padlet. And I'm gonna get there real quick. Um, I swear it'll take me 1 second to get there. And basically, with this wisdom wall, what I'm doing is I'm asking them to give advice to the next students that are going to be in our courses. What
Ah.
and I'm looking, let's see.
Oh, I like that very much.
And yeah, okay, so this is the one. I'll pull this up real quick so you can see this. Share application, Padlet. Let's see, Wisdom Wall right there. Okay, can you see it? You could probably see it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, what I do in my last module is I say, what's one piece of advice you'd give to a future student in this course? And what I love about Padlet is they could record a video, like I recorded a little video. They could put a little GIF. They like GIFs. They can simply put text. And if they wanted to, they could, like, favorite, heart, and they could comment on other students' posts. And basically, I just said, what would you want other people to know? Ask questions. Don't wait till the last minute to start an assignment. Ask questions. Get creative. It's fun. Don't get trapped in the it can wait mindset. So then what's going to happen? And I just started doing these last semester. When I send that pre-course communication, I'm sending a link to this and saying, hey, if you want to know what some other people have said about this course, this is their advice to you. So now they're getting advice from their peers, not from me saying, read the syllabus and make sure that you are, answering your discussion post and commenting and I'm not engaging with you at all as an instructor. So.
I like it. I just took notes.
Yeah.
Great idea.
I love it. There's, and again, I should also put the caveat on and then I'll let you guys go. This works for my genre. My genre is graduate courses, teaching, practicing teachers, future teachers, and in some cases, librarians. Now, Michigan State's a different story. We get people from all walks of life. I've even had employees from Ford in Michigan, take some of the courses. So it works for my subject area. It might not work for everybody, some of the things that I told you, but some of them can work for you. So I'm hoping that, I gave you an idea or two to kick off. And remember, my email is in there. You both know where to find me. I'm available to you anytime just to chit chat or to bounce ideas. Yeah. And that's
Thank
it.
you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm so happy you guys joined.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So have a great
Thank
night
you.
and I'll
You
see you
as
at
well.
work. Okay.
Yep,
Thanks.
you
Thank
Take
you.
care.
too. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.